If you're not raising your hand and you're not telling people how you feel and that you are struggling and that you've got no time whatsoever to do things, then unfortunately being overwhelmed, you've kind of brought that on yourself, or you're not finding the solution. And welcome to this week's episode of It Takes Grit. Woohoo! We are talking about being overwhelmed today. Yes, we are going to absolutely tackle every step so that you get to feel overwhelmed, but then you have the steps to be able to deal with it and you just feel a little bit more in control. So first of all, if you have not already got your copy of my new book, It Takes Grit, I'm so excited. I'm literally sending in the final tiny tiddly notes today. So you can also get it right now on pre-sale. When you get it for pre-sale, you get a whole bunch of bonus features, including 101 recipes, discount on the tour. Yes, we're actually doing a book and fit camp tour. I'm so excited about getting to meet all of you guys and girls. So let's do this today, right? Okay, Penny, you're going to come up as well. You just never know what you're going to get. A dog's going to either be in the workout or the podcast. So why is it that we feel overwhelmed? Typically, we feel overwhelmed when we have a lot of things going on, when we don't feel like we can manage everything that's in our life right now. And that sometimes throws off our balance. So it's totally normal to feel, oh, hi there, Penny. It's totally normal to feel overwhelmed. It's normal to get that oh my goodness, I feel like I'm drowning type thing, where everything is just, and then there's more and more, and all of a sudden you're just I feel so overwhelmed. So I'm going to flip it a little bit and allow us not to think of ourselves being overwhelmed, but having gratitude that we have so many incredible things going on in our life. So that's one thing. We feel a little bit disorganized. When we feel overwhelmed, it's like that we can't manage everything. So it's normal. So why do we feel overwhelmed? Okay, let's really break this down. Often we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're just in this fog, and maybe we can see a very small part of light, and we're just oh my goodness, I'm searching for it, but I want that light to get bigger, right? So that can make us feel a little bit uneasy. It can make us have anxiety. When we're feeling overwhelmed, that's when we kind of get that shortness of breath, and we're feeling like we're not in control. We get worried, when we feel overwhelmed, we start to feel worried about things. We start to question things. We don't have a flow about us. So that overwhelming feeling, if we can get rid of that, or we can at least contain it, how amazing are you going to feel? And that's why the second part of this podcast is really going to help you and break down and give you some steps if you are feeling overwhelmed right now. We can also feel overwhelmed when we don't know the outcome. It's almost like a different kind of overwhelming feeling. I felt a little bit overwhelmed about climbing Mount Everest. And I was feeling a lot more overwhelmed a couple of months ago because there was a transition in my business. We had some people leaving. We've hired some new people. I was spending a lot of time fixing those things which needed my attention rather than training and rather than eating enough food than I was supposed to. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go to Everest and I'm going to still have to do all of this additional work to make sure that my business is working as I'm climbing this mountain. And I really was starting to get overwhelmed. And I just knew that things were going to get easier because I was implementing the right tools. I don't get overwhelmed if I know that I'm doing what I need to do to be able to have balance in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. So I always have a strategy. And I think that's the thing, is that it's okay to feel overwhelmed for a short period of time. And having that strategy at the end is going to be I feel overwhelmed, but I know that it's going to be all right in the future because I've got this game plan. So for me, I was starting to feel a bit nervous, and I wasn't sure on the outcome of what was going to happen with Everest because I didn't feel like I was giving it my best shot because I had to manage everything else that was going on. There was just a lot of fires that happened that I had to be the one to put them out and to help organize it. So I've really found that it's okay to feel overwhelmed and to get worried and to question things because that means that we care. And knowing that we have a strategy to go forward and take that away, right? So we want to feel like we're in control. Like when we're overwhelmed, we don't feel like we are grounded. We don't feel like we've got everything together. We don't feel like ourselves, okay? So getting to the bottom of why you feel overwhelmed is going to really help us in diving deeper and allow you to just be a bit more free and not get so stressed. So it's normal. Right? It's all normal. We kind of think like, oh my goodness, this is just me. It's just me that feels like this. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so overworked. There's just more things piling up on my plate. You know, I've got kids going this one way, whatever. Okay, so let's just take a breath. Take a nice inhale together. Remember all the stuff that Dr. Tricia taught us about breathing. And exhale everything out. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Being overwhelmed could just mean another word for being busy. And if you are busy, it means that you've got lots of great things happening because your life is full of purpose and there's things going on, that actually it could be a good thing that we're busy and that we're feeling overwhelmed, right? Because we're busy. And if we're not busy, sometimes we feel like, what's our purpose? What are we doing? So next time you go, oh my goodness, I am so overwhelmed. It's like, oh my goodness, I am so busy because I'm involved with so many things and the universe needs me for lots of different things that are going on, lots of different experiences. I have so many different roles. That is so amazing that I am feeling overwhelmed because it means that I am being pulled in so many different directions because so many people want me. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought that actually, wow, it's kind of nice to feel overwhelmed. It means that you're in demand. Right? And when we start to flip that mindset to thinking that actually it could be a positive thing that we're getting overwhelmed. And you know what? There might be a lot of things that you're saying, well, Rebecca, I feel overwhelmed, but there's loads of negative things happening. Guess what happens in times of negativity? Growth. And what's positive about growth? Loads of things, right? So actually you can completely turn it on its head and say that the positive feelings and the positive growth that you're going to get from some of these experiences that you're having to go through are actually going to be absolutely perfect and going to build you stronger and have even more resilience and grit. Okay, so this could just be another word for being busy and that you're in demand. How cool is that? Check in with your breath throughout the day. It's so important because when we're working out, I tell you guys all the time, make sure that you breathe. Make sure that you breathe. Inhale through your nose and exhale out. Keep that breath going. This is going to help with your workouts. It's the same when you are going through your day. Dr. Tricia Smith again spoke about this, about having an alarm on your phone that just ignites you and reminds you just to check in with your breath. Have you been breathing? And if we're feeling overwhelmed, we're getting worried, we're getting anxious, we typically aren't in tune with our breath. It's typically, it's a little bit irrational, okay? So again, go back to the shower. Go when you wake up in the morning, you get into that morning shower. Take nice inhales in and take nice exhales out and control that breath. Get into that mindset that you have ownership of the day. Okay, so take that breath. Let's get organized. Oh, some people are just naturally super organized. I have to say, one of those people. I am incredibly organized. Things are absolutely planned out. And the reason is that if I am not organized and things aren't planned out, that's when I get stressed, I get worried about things, and I become, those feelings of like being overwhelmed really start to set in. So for me, something that's really helped is getting organized. I have Google Calendar. I have a diary that I write in. I have a great app called Things that literally just writes down your to-do list and you literally can click it off, and it's been a game changer for me. I absolutely love being so organized that I'm on top of everything. Therefore, I'm not feeling overwhelmed. If you're disorganized and things are like all over the place and you don't know if what day it is, you don't know what you're supposed to do that day because you haven't written it down, because you don't have a game plan, no wonder you're feeling overwhelmed. Okay? And we can still have a full organization diary and a full thing going on and still feel overwhelmed. So what do we do there? We go back to the first thing. We go, wow, I'm just really freaking busy and this is so cool. Like, my life is so exciting. There's so many things going on. Like, I'm involved with so many things. I have so many responsibilities. Like, that's pretty cool. And when you look at things differently, remember I say this all the time, the things that you look at will change. So let's be excited by being overwhelmed. Let's do priorities. I'm going to say that word. See, I have a couple of issues with some words. Prioritize. what needs to be done today, and not like, well, everything needs to be done today. It doesn't. There's some things that are time sensitive. So on my phone, I have this great app, like I was saying, called Things, and it gives you a little to-do list. And if you don't do it that day, it will roll on to the next day. And I make sure that things are starred that I need to have done that day. And I can look at it, and sometimes I go, you know what? I could do this today. It's not time sensitive for today. I can do it tomorrow. And so it's not trying to cram everything in on one day if it's not time sensitive to that day. We can plan out things that make it that we get to do a couple of the tasks on Tuesday, couple on Wednesday, couple on Thursday. You don't have to stay up until midnight to get something done just because you're like, it's on my to-do list. It has to be done in a way that gives you balance throughout your life and knowing what has to come first. And sometimes we prioritize the things in a wrong order. Yes, we do the things that we really love to do before the things that we need to do. And I feel a lot more content and a lot more at ease for the rest of the day when I've got all of the things out the way that maybe are not my favorite, and then I get to really enjoy those other things. And I've started to actually, the things that I don't enjoy so much, I've started to change my thinking to go, oh, I'm so excited to do this. And when I literally say the words, I'm so excited to do this, guess what happens? I'm programming my brain that I'm enjoying everything and that I actually want to do this new task. And then when I go and sit down to do it, it's not such a burden. So prioritize what you need to be doing that day and prioritize the things that really do need to get done, okay, before the things that aren't that important, okay? And it could be that, hey, your relationship needs some work right now. That needs to be your priority, because if you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed that that's not going right, like, what is your priority? What is the thing that you need to work on right now that is the most important? Because when you're feeling overwhelmed, the things that are the most important are what going to start to play on your mind even more, okay? So we have to get through those, do those things first, and just get them out the way and enjoy it, okay? Just program your brain into, I'm going to really enjoy this, and therefore we can keep on going forward, right? So get organized, plan, and prioritize what you need to do first. Not everything has to be done first. All right, let's keep going. Can we delegate? Can you delegate any of the work or the responsibilities that you have right now? If you are feeling super overwhelmed, it could be the small thing that you just start off maybe getting some help around the house. Maybe you get a cleaner. Maybe you've got like so many kids and you're like, hey, I just need somebody once a week, once every 2 months, even just starting with once a month, getting a cleaner in to take off a little bit of that responsibility for you. Learning how to delegate and utilizing your time so that you don't feel overwhelmed, it's not an easy task, and you're giving away, you're actually expanding your time, but it's like, hey, I don't need somebody else to do that. I don't need someone else to do that. But if you're not delegating and you're complaining about being overwhelmed, that unfortunately is your own fault. You have to delegate if you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't feel like you can do it all, because you're just going to send yourself in a downward spiral. You're going to get sad, you're going to get depressed, and then what? You're not going to be a great role model for other people. So you have to take care of yourself first. And if you can't do everything, boom, and which you can't, you have to get to delegate. Now, put your hand up. Ask for help. There are people around you that want to help. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, or if you're not feeling overwhelmed right now, who in your life can you help? Who in your life can you just reach your hand out to say, hey, I don't know how you're feeling. I know you've got lots going on, but I'd love to help you. Is there anything that I can do? But if you're not raising your hand and you're not telling people how you feel and that you are struggling and that you've got like no time whatsoever to do things, then unfortunately, like, being overwhelmed, you've kind of brought that on yourself, or you're not finding the solution. I talk about that all the time. Like, what is the solution to how you're feeling right now? Can you find that solution? And if you're feeling overwhelmed and you need more help, have you asked anybody for help yet? If you haven't asked anybody for help, well, this is the first step that you need to take today to make sure that we're getting aligned and that you have the time to do everything that you need to do, as well as having time for yourself. Okay? Our own time and being with one is super important as well. So put your hand up and ask for help. All right. Be grateful. be so grateful. I'm sure that what you're getting overwhelmed in right now, there is something fun in it. Even if it's your job, you're like, oh my goodness, like there's just so much going on at work right now. Like, is that something that you love? Are you like, wow, I'm still really grateful for, the job that I have. And I'm really grateful that I'm putting through this test to really improve myself and to push myself forward. Like, embrace it. Embrace all of this like extra load that you feel like is coming onto you. Like, embrace more of that, because when you do and you push through, you are going to be able to change and level up so much because you fought through that grit. That grit again. Okay, own it. Own it. Change your physiological state. If you are feeling overwhelmed and you're like, want to cry and you're like, oh my goodness, this is too much. And I understand when I was moving into this house, there was a lot of change happening. I was like, my stuff was like everywhere. And there was a moment where I couldn't find one thing. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to cry. I felt like I was going to cry. And I did. I shed a couple of tears. And I was like, it's okay. It's okay. If you can't find this thing, it's going to be okay. Just take a deep breath. We're going to get through this. So I changed my state. I started to put my shoulders back. I lift up, or I started moving my arms and my legs. I started to smile. I started to breathe. I started to lift my head up. I started to really change how my body was, because when you're slumped over, you are going to start to feel sad and depressed and like the world is going to take over. Or you can own it. You can own the day. You can stand up, say, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be powerful. I'm going to get my workout in no matter what. I'm going to have a healthy breakfast. I am going to be organized. And if I feel overwhelmed today, great. I'm going to have so much gratitude about it. I'm going to push through it and I can make it happen, because life isn't always going to be super overwhelming. There's going to be parts where it's going to peak more and parts where it's a little bit slower, literally over your whole entire life. And you can control those peaks with all of these actions that we're taking on today. You can do this. You do have the capability right inside of you right now. And if you just implement a couple of these tools, it will change how you're feeling every single day. But you have to make the choice. You have to decide that you want to go out there and you want to level up. You want to break through your barriers. You want to have loads of breakthroughs every single day. That's just constantly rewiring your brain and getting you to think in a more positive and empowered way. So isn't it exciting when things are moving fast? Yes, like when you start to feel slow, you're like, oh my goodness, like this is kind of boring. Like you almost like want something else to happen, right? Because you're just like, everything seems a little bit quiet. Why is everything quiet, right? We start to complain about that. And then when loads of things are happening, we're like, oh my goodness, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't do it, right? You can never win with yourself. So the best is to just embrace every single moment. In those times where we're a little bit, slower and things aren't so crazy in our life, it's like, oh my goodness, like this feels good. I'm just going to take a rest here. And then when it becomes busy and there's loads of stuff going on, that's when it's like, okay, we're going full force. We're changing our physiological state. We are going to own the day. We are going to own all of the things that are going to come to us today, and we're going to be able to get through and level up to a whole new standard. So it's okay to feel overwhelmed. That's normal. But how are you going to react to it? How are you going to allow anything that you are going through in your life right now to get through it every single step? Okay, take a nice big breath in with me. Breathe everything out. Release everything from your shoulders. Let's take one more together. Inhale through your nose. Exhale everything out. Okay, shake it out. Shake that body, shake your arms, shake your legs, and take this moment now to know that you are in control. Whatever is those feelings inside of you that are trying to make you feel like you're overwhelmed. This is just a word that we keep using over and over again. I feel overwhelmed. I have anxiety. Like, let's change the dialogue. And you know what? We're not really designed, our bodies, to live in this crazy technological world where you get things instantly and like it's just crazy. We've got Instagram, social media. Things are in a different world, right? But 100 years ago, 200 years ago, like we didn't have all of this. Our bodies are trying to adapt. So just have a little bit of grace on yourself that really, we're not really designed to live in this kind of world. Like, think about how much the world has changed in just the last 50 years. I mean, absolutely crazy, the exponential growth. So if you're feeling this tension, like, we're not used to this. There's other things that happen in our life right now that we are not used to and we're not designed for. So we can just get to learn all of these extra tools to help us in this crazy modern world. And I hope that some of these tips helped you today. If there is anybody in your life that feels like they would really benefit for this, be the hero in someone's life today and share this podcast. And of course, go and leave us a review on the It Takes Grit podcast, wherever you're listening to it, because it makes such a difference, okay, to the podcast and to everybody listening, and we get to change the world together. All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody. We're excited to see you on the book tour. Remember, go and get your copy of It Takes Grit. Pre-order is available now, and you're going to get all of those pre-ordered goodies if you do it today. All right, bye, guys. Bye.
I am fascinated by fear. It completely changed my life once I actually looked at it for what it is and how to use it. So I don't want to have fear. Fear is a powerful